And this is a pair down. Abe Stein is undefeated, but he has a draw. So 5-0-1 is his record.
The undefeated adjacent. The draw bracket.
Yeah, well, and because of this tournament's size, that draw really does matter. We're expecting the cut to be straight at 7-2, meaning for Abe, if he loses this, he'll be on the bubble.
And this is a big first step for Dylan Hand. He has the turn 1 Ether Vial against the control deck.
Yeah, that is always great. Now, we've seen a lot of spirits in this matchup. Against humans, it's a lot tougher of a matchup for the Vial deck. Humans can't really play on the end step nearly as much as spirits does.
Right. Your play ends up being a little bit fancier, or a little less fancy, rather. Though you are still in a position where you're able to overload the removal spells. You can freebooter to inform your decisions. Sometimes you can catch something, maybe multiple copies with the Meddling Mage that can really swing things in your favor.
Okay.
Thalia is quite good in the matchup. We have seen the Spirits deck start to play Thalia themselves.
That's true. Yeah, Zoria Spirits, Zan had 3 copies in the main. And here is Thalia for Dylan. Abe had put his second land into play tapped, which meant that Dylan didn't really have to respect a Logic Knot in that situation.
Right, yeah, the only thing he would have been walking into there would have been Spell Snare, though.
Yeah.
That card, usually in small numbers if it's available at all.
Unless you're playing against Ryan Overturf, I never see the card.
Right.
Do you see it sometimes as a one-of in that flex spot out of Jeskai?
Yeah, it looks like Stein is also on the 1 Mana Leak. That's kind of where it would show up.
Yeah, it's like the main deck Mana Leak, or we saw sometimes a Negate or a Spell Snare or a something.
The format is quite heavy on Cavern of Souls and Ether Vials right now, which makes Spell Snare quite poor. There's also nothing really in the Hollow One deck that you can Spell Snare. I guess Goblin Lore is something that you can hit, but for the most part, it does not line up well in a number of the most popular matchups.
The decks that play 2-mana cards oftentimes cavern them.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that. Thalia's Lieutenant from Dylan. Now, this might be a bit of a bait here. You see, he does have a Vial on 2. He's choosing to spend mana on this one.
Well, kind of the big deal here is that Logic Knot would cost all of Stein's lands. You can only exile 1 card, so he can pay for a Logic Knot if that's the only counterspell he's concerned about.
Okay. Abe is going to tap 2 to path to exile the Thalia. Dylan's going to use a Vial here. Let's see. Going to Vial in a... All right. Phantasmal Image. Copying Thalia, Legend ruling away the Thalia.
And this is nice. A couple things happen here. You know, the Lieutenant gets bigger, but more importantly, Stein's red mana was stranded there. So you get to turn him off of casting Lightning Bolt on that turn.
That's really good. So it stops the double removal spell. It also stops a Supreme Verdict here. I really do like that.
Yep. There will be no cryptic commands on this turn.
Yeah. Abe has still kept pace, though, at 18. Dylan kind of speculatively takes that Vial to 3. 1 mana. Champion of the Parish. This continues to play into Supreme Verdict.
I don't think that the game is going anywhere Dylan wants it to go if a Supreme Verdict is cast.
Okay, so he's just not going to respect one. I can appreciate that.
You also get to shove for more damage here, and then you make sure Mantis Riders better top decks down the line.
So, Snapcaster Mage, before targeting Path to Exile, before blocks, Dylan responds with with Reflector Mage on a Snapcaster Mage. I mean, sure, I guess there's not that much more in Abe's yard.
Yeah, it's also not like there's going to be a better window for the Reflector Mage down the line. You know, that's a creature you're going to hit. Stein will be able to cast a Snapcaster Mage on hand's next turn, but he'll have to get another spell into the graveyard if he's going to do anything with it.
Yeah, the reflecting ability doesn't do much here, which means that Abe can't main phase the Snapcaster. He likely wasn't going to anyway.
Right.
Still has that path, has to pay 2 for it because of the copied Thalia. Looks like Abe has Cryptic Command to Fairy, search for Azcanta.
And you see him target that Phantasmal Image Thalia for that reason. You want to at least be able to cast Cryptic Command on the following turn.
It still takes 5 on the hit and drops to 13. Says go. Yeah, and Cryptic Command is available on Abe's side, meaning the fact that he got that Snapcaster Mage back could pay dividends.
Yeah, though there was no 5th land drop there, so it's going to take some time to get up to Snapcaster Cryptic Command.
Yeah, that's true. Dylan's draw is just another Aether Vial. His team's tap says go. We're back onto Abe's side. I don't think he has any more lands, despite drawing 2 cards there. A hand of 6 or 7, though.
I want to say there's a Lightning Bolt in the mix that'll complement the Snapcaster Mage reasonably well, though not on the following turn. Only 1 red mana available, so despite having 4, he can't Bolt, Snap, Bolt.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. That would be a pretty nice play.
If he had something like a Path to Exile or even a second Lightning Bolt, he could activate the Field of Ruin, clean up his mana a little bit, cast 2 removal spells in the following combat.
The 6-card hand, Abe just says go. Dylan's go to combat. It's another tap draw off Cryptic. Abe's draw was Lightning Helix. He's loading up on removal here, but he just can't seem to find a land, so he's still stuck with 1 spell per turn.
Yeah, Fistful of Spells is not the worst, though inevitably he does need to start firing off some removal spells.
He has an interesting choice here. Right, so he has Seeger's Serum Visions, meaning he can search for Azcanta plus Lightning Helix. He could Field of Ruin into 2nd red plus Lightning Helix, or he could Serum Visions and hope to hit the land. And all seem pretty reasonable here.
I think that the one line that I just actively don't like there is the Serum Visions. The punishment is just the highest by a lot.
Yeah.
If you don't find it this turn, you have wasted some mana, especially given how strong the Search for Azcanta plus Lightning Helix is on this turn. And given that you get to take a look at that top card anyway with the Search, it's not terribly different from converting Serum Visions right away.
Yeah, that's like only the right line if he was even farther behind.
Yeah, if he just needed to make something big happen, the
Yeah.
Serum Visions would be kind of the forced.
Yeah, so he chose the Search. He went for Search plus Helix, hoping just to use the Search to hit that land drop.
Right.
Certainly if Search can find him the red mana off the top, this is the most powerful of the lines.
Right.
Dylan draws Mantis Rider for the turn.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. I was curious to see whether he would attack. He goes and vials in Mantis Rider. I was wondering if he's going to try to hold it back as a second swing. Looks like the answer is no. With the trigger on, Lightning Helix will take care of Champion of the Parish. Abe does not want it getting out of control. He goes up to 16. A swing for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 11. Abe down to 5. Bins secure the wastes, draws Electrolyze. He just can't find a land here.
Electrolyze really poor against this assortment of creatures.
All the spells in the world. He's got Snapcaster, Lightning Bolt, Electrolyze, Teferi. He doesn't even have double white yet.
Right. Yeah, he hasn't really had a window to leverage this Field of Ruin to convert that into another colored mana source.
Yeah, I don't know that he has the Supreme Verdict. He just says go. Question, I think Snapcaster plus Lightning Helix can likely keep him alive for 1 more turn. Chump and shoot the Mantis Rider, I think he'll survive.
Right, yeah, you take exactly the life that you gained, only 3 damage coming in otherwise.
Looks like that's going to play Snapcaster Mage.
Hand.
Block. Yep.
I was going to talk about some potential draws hand could have had, but definitely wasn't the Meddling Mage if we're not turning off that Lightning Helix with the Vial in response.
Dylan just says go. Abe has kept pace. Top card. Is it on? Has he found a land yet? He's turning aside. He's debating.
And there are 5 cards in the graveyard, so the search does not become a land. I'll tell you that much.
I guess if it's a land, he has to decide. Doesn't matter. Does he need to do? If it's a. Yeah. It was a cryptic command. Yeah. Was this good enough to not have a land? He said no, tries, and he finds Logic Knot, so
well, that's
he downgrades.
Certainly worse than Cryptic Command.
It's now the Serum Visions line we were talking about. Did he hit the land? Yes, but I think it's a shock land, or maybe even a colonnade.
Yeah, my read was colonnade.
That doesn't count here.
Yeah, colonnade definitely doesn't count. Yeah, it looks to be
colonnade.
colonnade. Depending on the spells available, Hollowed Fountain maybe could have.
Why is that 5? Can he survive? That Thalia's a 10 is lethal. I think he has another Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, that buys him some time. The Snapcaster Mage normally can get in front of the Lieutenant.
What do you think about... Oh, and because he can't... He needs to bolt here as well, or he'd like to. Yeah, bolts the Reflector Mage, chumps with Snapcaster Mage. He's just having to throw resources away to stay alive here as he drops to 4.
Hand with 3 cards in hand now. At least one of them a land.
And Nescanta transforms, now up to 6 lands. And there is still hope if he can, Teferi. If he draws a land, Teferi plus Settle the Wreckage, something like that, you can still get this for him.
Teferi and pushing down Lieutenant is not the worst.
I guess if he really wants to, Teferi tuck away the Lieutenant.
Yeah.
He'll draw. Draws into, it looks like a Sulphur Falls. Plays Sulphur Falls, untaps 2. Says go. Does he have a path? He has a white card in hand. Just has to have some way to deal with this. And Abe might actually be okay here.
If he can get out of this turn, things start looking a lot better for him.
Yeah, there's so many draws, though, that are scary. A Mantis Rider would work. And Path, Exile resolves.
That's
okay.
a huge deal.
Still only get that 1 island.
And just 1 damage coming across. If that connects, it means that hand could theoretically convert a Mantis Rider down the line, and it seems to have. The lethal turn would have to look like Mantis Rider plus, though. You're going to have to break through at least a Celestial Colonnade. Plus whatever else Stein brings to the table in the interim.
And Electrolyze takes care of that. Champion of the Parish is made by Dylan, but Abe's with Teferi and Search for Azcanta, transformed into Azcanta, Abe has taken control.
And once Stein finds another Lightning Helix, if he can just get up to 6 life with the amount of card advantage available, I think that he will have officially completely turned the corner.
Yeah, and this is an impressive game from Stein with so much going wrong here. A lot of players, I think, get really demoralized in that situation when your deck just kind of fails to show up for so many turns. Abe had to take some really gross lines, like Snapcaster Mage, flashback nothing, chump.
Right.
Cast this bolt that I wanted to flash back for 7 turns.
He did kind of miss his Manosaurus on the first time where it's okay for his deck to. He at least got to 4, and then he was able to kind of scrap his way with his fistful of spells. Maybe some ugly interactions in between, but was able to do enough in the meantime, and now he has come online with his mana, and I believe he did find that Lightning Helix, which should put the game away.
And it was an ugly 4 lands, too. Field of Ruin, Island, blue-white duel, blue-red duel. He had single red, single white, and that was hurting him at various points. I mean,
yes.
Yeah,
definitely some strong navigation by Stein in this game.
Yeah, now Logic not Helix land, but the story is really the Teferi that's going to keep Abe alive.
Is that card good?
That card's good.
All right.
Champion of the Parish going to swing. Abe will Lightning Helix it.
And battlefield empty for hand. Stein going up to 6.
Yeah, it's just that Azcanta. Going to do work too. See, he draws, finds a Supreme Verdict.
Yeah, he has some lands and a Logic Knot, which aren't going to matter in hand, but he does have Colonnade already on the battlefield. And then Azcanta the Sunken Rune is going to start generating some pretty serious value.
And here's another Lightning Helix. It's his last copy.
Yeah, even just gets to main phase that and untap the Escanta and probably dig again on hand's turn.
Hand out of creatures. We'll see a lot of times this matchup gets to this point rather quickly. And the Humans deck very rarely comes back from it.
Yeah. There were multiple windows there where you can conceive of some vial activations on 2 and 3 where hand had 2 or 3 cards in hand, where there was a creature, had he drawn it, could have made the outcome very different. It seems like he's been pretty significantly flooded beyond the initial onslaught that he produced. And now Stein's just kind of running away with it.
Teferi up to 8. It'll get the emblem next turn. Can start exiling away Dylan's permanents. And really nothing else he has to do in the meantime. Just going to activate this Escanta.
Reveals a cryptic command. That's not a bad one. Yes, Cryptic and Lightning Helix currently in hand. Teferi is threatening Ultimate on the following turn.
So yeah, how much of this Dylan wants to see. Five cards in hand here for Dylan Hand. With Abe's at 6. And yeah, you mentioned another Helix, a Path, a Cryptic. Not too much relief going to happen. Here's Mantis Rider through Cavern of Souls. Gonna be Dylan's last shot.
Looks like a Reflector Mage, one of the cards in hand.
And it will get pathed. Dylan will vial in a Phantasmal Image, copying the Mantis Rider.
Yeah, that's well and good, though the image won't be able to attack this turn.
I mean, there's still, yeah, and there's still Teferi Emblem on the way.
Right. And Serum Vision's picked up. Stein could wait to get the Teferi up to 9, though I don't really imagine him losing from embleming Teferi, casting Serum Visions, starting to go to work. Picked up a Lightning Bolt as well.
And here is the emblem. Whenever Abraham draws a card, he exiles a permanent.
Neat.
Yeah. Okay.
It has to be a permanent your opponent controls.
All right. Well, hey, Serum Visions. Looks like we drew a card. Get rid of that Aether Vial. And appears to be players want to maintain the game state. There's a judge call on Dylan's side.
Unbeatable emblem-related discussion happening here.
Okay.
Judge, I don't want to lose the game, but my opponent has a Teferi emblem.
I guess Abraham must have. They are saying missed the
something
Teferi
about the
activation.
resolution of Serum Visions and the Teferi emblem. Looks to be a very minor element of the game. Question apparently had to do with responding to emblem triggers.
And Dylan's had enough of this one. Abe Stein takes game 1.
Yeah, drawn out a fair, but once Stein started getting the 5th and 6th mana source, you just see that the power level of the spells in the deck are much higher than those of the Humans deck. The Humans deck really plays from positions of strength, whereas Jeskai controls a lot of tools to recover and then just drive advantages home.
A transformed Escanta, the Sunken Ruin, just seems so good in this matchup because all of their cards are live against Humans.
Right. Yeah, the backside is not a land that they would print.
Right. So, looking at some sideboards, as we are halfway through the clock for the match, Dylan Hand, 3 Sin Collector, 2 Damning Sphere, 2 Dismember, 2 Gaddock Teague, 2 Staticasters, 2 Reclamation Sage, and again, a Hostage Shaker and a Whirler Rogue.
The big hits here are the 3 Sin Collectors and the 2 Gaddock Teagues.
Right.
These cards are all really punishing to all of the best cards in Stein's deck. Sin Collector just tags any removal spell, and then it's just a body. especially if you have Noble Hierarch or Thalia's Lieutenant. It hits hard in its own right. And then you just get to exile any removal spell, Cryptic Command, Supreme Verdict, whereas Gaddock just shuts off the best spells on its own. You can't cast a Fairy, you can't cast Cryptic Command, Supreme Verdict, Jace the Mind Sculptor. Really good stuff.
Is Whirler Rogue decent here? It is a 4/4/4/4 that is hard to tag with 1-for-1 removal.
Yeah, it's an army in a can. It requires multiple removal spells or at least a sweeper. I definitely see the argument for it.
Now on Abe's side, he also has 3 Surgicals, 2 Celestial Purge, 2 Ceremonious Rejection, 2 Dispel, 2 Vendilion Click, the 1/1 split of Baneslayer and Lyra, a Disdainful Stroke, and a Negate. There's not too much to improve his matchup.
No. I like the Baneslayer and the Lyras a decent amount. You're not likely to get Reflector Mage in the post-sideboard games. Vendilion Click is fine and enters combat with a lot of the stuff on hand side of the board. Celestial Purge actually enters Mantis Rider, bringing in maybe one of those. As it answers Kai'Sail Freebooter as well. There's a reasonable number of targets for that. It's not the worst.
Yeah. For the
rest of the stuff, I don't want a Surgical Extraction, a creature with power and toughness. That's not really the line I'm trying to make.
No, it's really about that early game in this matchup.
Right.
And I don't see that mattering too much. Not very few of these cards play in that situation. With Lyra and Baneslayer right now, every Colonnade deck we've seen today has had one of each in the board. It's been pretty standard. Do you think Dylan has, knowing this, does Dylan keep in any Reflector Mages, or are they still just too poor of cards?
You can maybe leave in 1 or 2. You can kind of afford to draw. Well, not really. You can't really draw too many creatures that you don't want to proactively commit, just because you really need to be applying pressure. You do end up in a lot of trouble if Baneslayer Angel hits the battlefield. The Whirler Rogue's kind of a breaker for that. You will generally be able to crack back for more than the Baneslayer Angel will. The humans deck can produce a lot of power, and in the meantime, you can use the Whirler Rogue to make some creature unblockable. For the most part, though, you definitely don't leave in all 4 Reflector Mages. It's probably 1 or 2 if you're leaving in any at all.
Damn. Yeah, you do need to curve out with creatures that attack.
Sometimes you will just file in Reflector Mage against Celestial Colonnade as a blocker. It's not the line that you signed up for, but it will come up.
I can see that. I guess the creatures that get boarded out here, it's still pretty close to top of the list.
Right.
I could see Noble Hierarch sometimes getting boarded out, I suppose.
It can be tough to effectively Meddling Mage in this matchup. You have such a diversity of removal spells. I suppose with the Sin Collectors coming in, though, you generally have a much better idea of what is in the control player's hand. That does increase the value of the mages. If
for nothing more than to Meddling Mage naming Supreme Verdict, I would like that.
Yeah, that can be a big deal.
So
stuff like these Kessig Malcontents are a lot worse in these removal spell-heavy matchups.
Actually, Ryan, I have an interesting thing about Abe Stein's list. He's not playing Supreme Verdict, and he's only playing 1 Settle the Wreckage.
That is, that's pretty different than what we have seen so far in this tournament.
I'm trying to look at what he has instead.
Oh, we have covered other Jeskai players not playing Serum Visions.
Right.
So he has a little bit more control over access to the spot removal spells in the deck, and he's just trying to fight that fight. And to be fair, in a lot of spots, your opponents are going to play with respect to sweepers anyway. And if you just have spot removal spells and your opponent's not committing into a sweeper effect, when you actually cast your removal spells, they cost less mana. When you have to sweep up 1 or 2 creatures, just being able to cash in on a Path to Exile or a Lightning Helix that trades with the creature in that spot and leave up, Cryptic Command or Logic Knot there. There's some value to that. Looks like Dylan Han is going to be taking a mulligan here. Looks like Stein is keeping on 7. Dylan Han will be on the play here. Humans is a deck that can mulligan fine. In these really grindy attrition-based matchups, you don't want to. Though with these sideboard Sin Collectors, Gaddock Teagues, these definitely make things a little bit better. You can gain some advantage with those. And he is happy with his 6 and does have that turn 1 Ether Vial again. Stein with a Steam Vents tap. Vial goes up to 1 for hand. Ancient Ziggurat. Vial is in Champion of the Parish. Kitesail Freebooter, and we'll get a look at Stein's hand here.
We do see, looks like 3 lands. We're going to have some blue cards. We have Lightning Helix, Electrolyze, Serum Visions, Serum Visions. So might as well take the best removal spell. See, Dylan quickly slides Lightning Helix under his Kitesail Freebooter.
Yeah. Electrolyze, not castable in the following turn. Double Serum Visions, even if you did care about them, which I don't think hand is particularly concerned. There's just redundant copies anyway. If Stein draws a removal spell, that's a fine play for the turn. And if not, he just gets to cast at least 1 Serum Visions. And he'll start with that. Two cards on the top. That makes me not really want to cast the other Serum Visions. And yeah, you see Stein there, just plays land untapped and doesn't even cast it. Yeah, if you only keep 1 on top, then drawing it and scrying is pretty reasonable. But with 2 cards on top, you get to draw 1. You're scrying 2 cards with 1 that you already know that you want.
Right.
Here's Thalia's Lieutenant for Dylan Hand, and that will actually pump the Freebooter outside of range of that Electrolyze. So this is a really big pickup.
Yeah, Dylan has successfully put together a start that is overpowering Abe's removal.
But here's another reason not to cast Serum Visions. There is a Path to Exile, looks like, hovering in Stein's hand. He did pick up that one.
Okay. Champion goes up to 3, up to a 4/4. Booter goes up to a 2/3. Path will take care of the champion. But 2 damage will still come on in. Abe Stein drops to 18.
And with 2 cards floating on top, and Stein access to plenty of mana, you got to figure what he has flowing is some combination of 1-mana removal spells and or Snapcaster Mages. And there was Lightning Bolt as the draw.
Well, and so far Abe's going to be able to put together some pretty reasonable pieces here. With all this is like where stuff like Meddling Mage and Freebooter can be difficult in the matchup because all this cheap interaction. He can Bolt, buy back his Helix. Things seem to be working out for Abe Stein.
Right. And here he fires off the Lightning Bolt at the Freebooter. There is that Vial on 2. He's checking hand for having another Thalia's Lieutenant or Phantasmal Image, so he is leaving up Lightning Helix as well.
Okay, so he Vials in the Phantasmal Image and pumps the Freebooter out of range of the Lightning Bolt. And a pretty big win there for Dylan Hand. And so it's 3 damage on it. We go back to Abe. Does he have any more damage to finish it off? It's unclear.
Yeah, we still know about at least 1 he can't cast that Electrolyze. He won't be able to cast that this turn. Costs too much mana.
Yeah, it looks like he just lost his Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, I think he's cracking this fetch land here to cast Serum Visions, I believe.
And that is going to cost him a lot of damage. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just cast Serum Visions. So the crackback will be for at least 7, perhaps more.
It's pretty reasonable to chip in for just a 7, put Stein down to 10, and then on the following turn, if you don't get swept up by anything, you can just really amplify the power here. Just humans entering the battlefield in and of itself will cause these Thalia's Lieutenants to grow. So something like a Sin Collector would be very reasonable to just add to the battlefield on the following turn. Or Gaddock Teague. No, that one's not a human.
No, Gaddock Teague is a Kithkin.
And an advisor.
No. Top bottom off Serum Visions for Abe Stein. In this situation where a card like Supreme Verdict is such a big hit, I'm on Dylan's side, I'm always pretty worried if it does hit. if he keeps a card on top. Now, Dylan's going to push in a bunch of damage. Kessig Malcontents is the play. So for 4 humans, that's going to be 4 damage. Abe down to 13, and it pumps 2 creatures. So Freebooter swings for 3, and the Lieutenants swing for 2 and 4. That's 9, and Abe is down to 4.
Yep, not a comfortable life total by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, so we know about Electrolyze. You can use that to clean up the Malcontents and that Phantasmal Image, but then you have to have something for these other creatures. The champion here is lethal as it is, and the Freebooter is pretty close. Looks like we do get to attack here. No Cryptic Command.
And Electrolyze, take care of Kessig Malcontents, and the Phantasmal Image is going to be the play from Abe.
And he's going to need to add Path to Exile to this. He has to deal with that 4/4.
Oh, and Dylan will violate another Malcontents first.
Well, forget about that then.
Abe goes to -1, and we're on to a 3rd game. That 2 of the Kessig Malcontents showing off in that matchup.
Yeah.
Dealing 4 and 5.
Yeah, having access to a couple Lava Axes really presses
Yeah,
your advantage.
On 3/1s.
Right. Yeah, that's a card that's kind of been in and out of the Humans deck, but its ceiling is very high.
Yeah. There's some weekends where you see players lose the 1 of for a while, and then I start seeing players play 3 and 4 of it. Dylan back down to 2 for this week.
Yeah, a lot of lists recently have even just registered 0 copies.
Yeah.
Kind of considered to be in the flex slot. Hand not bringing any militia buglers to the table. That one's kind of been a highly contested card since it was released.
Yeah, we've seen, when it first came out, we saw 3 and or 4 of it in a lot of the Humans list. Dylan, not a fan. He has no copies.
Star City Game Zone, Cedric Phillips, very adamantly against Militia Bugler.
Well, that means I'm for it.
Right, same.
I don't even play I don't even play these creature decks.
I actively detest playing decks that feature white creatures, but I might be Militia Bugler's biggest fan.
I just like being contrary. The card always looks good. You never have to sell me on cards drawing more cards.
Right? I'm a pretty big fan of Imperial Recruiter, and I guess by proxy, whatever the white one's called. White Creature Recruiter.
Yeah, slightly worse Imperial Recruiter,
yeah.
but I guess.
Right. Inferior Imperial Recruiter. Inferior Recruiter, I guess is the card's name probably. I don't know.
What if the white one was a 2/1? Would you like it more than Imperial Recruiter or still no?
I would come to resent it because they changed the stat line.
Well, it's to make up for the drawback of costing white mana.
Right. It is weird because it searches for creatures with 2 shields instead of 2 swords like Imperial Recruiter. If you know the text box of Imperial Recruiter, it searches for a creature with 2 or fewer swords and puts it into your hand.
Oh, right, because it's from
Portal 3 Kingdoms. Whereas whatever this card is called, I'm still not sure we have it on the screen. It searches for a creature with 2 or fewer shields. Show us the good one. Let's see the P3K Imperial Recruiter.
Actually, it's swords and shields.
Right.
I do like that.
Wow, what is this? This is the wrong printing.
I don't even.
That doesn't say swords anywhere on the card.
Yeah,
the director is really frustrating me right now. There we go.
Greater than 2 swords.
Power no greater than 2 swords. It even says power. It even says power, and then it has the sword.
Yeah, it's like a reminder text, but it's a reminder picture.
I love this guy. Yeah, they are functionally different beyond just the mana cost. A big deal for Legacy Death and Taxes players is Recruiter of the Guard can drum up Flicker Wisp.
Yeah. It's interesting because the effect actually is reverse. So the red one, generally red's about power and white is about toughness. But the white one can find high power creatures, and the red one can find high toughness creatures. If you want to get a 1/5, you need the red card.
Portal 3 Kingdoms was a weird time for every color. Had a pretty in-depth discussion with Nick Miller at dinner yesterday about riding the Dilu horse.
Yeah, that card's good. It's like an aura, but it's not an aura.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Yep. It's how auras work in digital games.
It's a green card, actually. We were talking about, in fact. I guess
2 swords and shields.
For some reason, I thought this was a blue card. The fact that it doesn't pitch the Force of Will means
that's green.
It's way more gimmicky. I was erring on the side that if it pitches the Force of Will, I think I would spend $70 to put this in my Infect deck.
See, Ryan, you thought it was blue because Spectraflight is a blue card.
Right.
But you don't understand the color pie. While flying is blue, horsemanship is green.
That's not true. There is a blue creature in Portal 3 Kingdoms that gives all of your creatures horsemanship.
Horsemanship, green,
Sun something. I don't remember the card's name.
Sun something.
There are
Horsemaster.
multiple instances of blue horsemanship creatures, including the creature that gives all of your creatures horsemanship.
Well, horsemanship is also in green's part of the color pie, apparently.
Sunsea Young Conqueror.
No, that's the Mana War.
Ooh, that's a nice card.
No, there's one that gives all your guys flying. It's okay, you just gotta...
It's too bad that Portal 3 Kingdoms was not...
Let's break out the spoiler. I'm sure we can find this one.
I really wish that Portal 3 Kingdoms was printed in German, because the German translation for flying is kann fliegen, can fly, whereas I want to see if the horsemanship follows a similar trend, but, I guess we'll never know.
So it's maybe like...
Can ride horse.
Con horsen.
Yeah.
Or something...
Anyway, I guess we're playing Magic now.
Well, kind of. Abraham's doing his best to not play Magic. I think if no one plays Magic, he'll be okay with that.
Right. So far, this is the first game that Dylan Hand did not have that turn 1 Ether Vial.
Here's Thalia. Dylan, if Abraham was hoping to bolt the 2-drop, he can't do it. Sun Quan. They're... As long as he's in play, all your guys gain horsemanship.
This includes himself. It's an important reminder, Dex. He has 4 swords and 4 shields. Powerful Magic. And that Thalia has stuck through Stein's turn.
I do like having swords and shields on cards.
Well, it's a game about combat. It just makes sense.
Well, what I'd like is if they fit to the weaponry that... See, these are all, from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms era in China, so they would have swords and shields. But then, a tiger would have to have a claw, and then, a plate.
Bear would have a little bear arm.
Yeah, and they'd have, a thick hide symbol or something, Mantis Rider, the play here for Dylan, and the Mantis Rider and Thalia will attempt to attack here for 5.
Stein needs to start having a lightning bolt for something here.
Some removal for something. There's a lightning bolt. He goes for Thalia over the Mantis Rider. Take 3 goes to 16. Fetches to 15.
The hand involves something like more copies of Serum Visions that'll allow him to better navigate the following turn.
Yeah, if he has these cantrips that he has to convert.
Right. If it's something even as awkward as just casting Jace the Mind Sculptor and either scrying or fate sealing and trying to survive with that through the Mantis Rider, getting that in could be a big deal.
And Snapcaster Mage. Shooting down the Mantis Rider is the play. Has a tap land, so kind of can show why you had to set it up that way. Back over to Dylan we go. Board has been cleanly answered, and Abraham's still at 15. It's a tough spot for the Humans deck to be in.
Yeah, and I mentioned that Hand did not have the turn 1 Ether Bile, but I want to say he's been hanging on to one in hand for a minute.
So his follow-up here is a Sin Collector, which is traditionally good, but what he found in Abe's hand is a bit of a disaster for him. It's land 5, Vendilion Click, and Baneslayer Angels.
Right. It's not just a miss, but it's just the worst creature to see.
Yeah. It's a miss, and here's how you're going to lose the game.
Right.
Dylan's like, remember, he doesn't have removal for Baneslayer. If he has a Reflector Mage, he can keep it away for a couple of turns.
Yeah, well, in the way that the game has progressed, Stein has been able to really effectively answer all of hand's creatures. So from 15, the Reflector Mage is whatever.
He'll just recast it.
Yeah, he'll have time.
Dylan cracks Horizon Canopy. Finds a land. He has Whirler Rogue, it looks like. And that's his large creature, but Baneslayer Angel is pretty demanding here. There's Whirler Rogue getting 2 Thopters. But I don't think he can stop the life gain, and you can't race Baneslayer Angel.
No.
That's not how that works.
Progenitus can't race Baneslayer Angel.
Right.
It's just, that's not how the math works. It's a 10-point life swing, and Stein's on the front foot. So you get to poke through with the Sin Collector, but it's just 2. Stein's still at 12.
I think we mean 17.
Yeah, yeah, right. Won't be long.
Yeah.
He's not hanging that one back, I imagine.
Now, the Whirler Rogue does mean that the Vendilion Click in Abe's hand is pretty bad here.
Yeah, those 1/1 Thopters check that very effectively.
But the way cards like Baneslayer and Lyra work is the whole game becomes about them until they leave.
Right.
6th land here for Stein. Still 2 cards.
And this is just one of those matchups where you can't readily ignore Baneslayer Angel in any way.
Colonnade plus Baneslayer Angel chunks in for half of Dylan's life total. He drops to 9, Abe up to 16.
And now hand gets the opportunity to not use his Thopters for anything and leave them up as chump blockers.
Yeah. What an opportunity. Path to Exile on the Whirler Rogue from Abe Stein.
I guess the hope was that hand would activate in response. I don't know.
I guess he didn't want Dylan to untap and play multiple Phantasmal images.
Sure, that could start to snowball. Really hard to imagine Stein losing from here, though. I suppose if it's something like, I don't know, hand's so light on cards, land, copy the Rogue, Reflector Mage the Baneslayer Angel.
I mean, you must think, what if hand boarded in one of his dismembers, right? If I was thinking of the control player, how do I lose? It probably starts there.
Sure.
I don't expect him to, but, stranger things have happened.
Right.
Here is Mantis Rider from Dylan Hand.
Yeah, all kinds of chump blockers available. And remember also that Baneslayer Angel has first strike, so you can't even line up Mantis Rider double Thopter against it. Really good smorgasbord of abilities on that card. Protection from demons, protection from dragons, 5 swords, 5 shields.
See, Baneslayer Angel would have swords and shields.
Yes.
Thopter tokens would have, claws and metal. I want to change the symbol depending on the creature.
This would be a lot of effort.
It would really make the game more resonant for me, though.
Right. Yeah, it really pulls you in.
Yeah. I then can envision how the combat's happening, and that just does it for me.
Whereas the much more involved art,
Yeah, that I never know what's going on with the art. It's just too much. Here's a swing. A trade, and Abe goes to 11. Aether Vial from hand, passes back.
The turn 6 or 7 Aether Vial is not the most impactful card.
And with Colonnade on the board, Abe can attack full and force I believe a chump block with that Mantis Rider. And there is a dismember. Okay, said stranger things have happened, and he calls it out and hits Baneslayer Angel.
Yeah, no cryptic command available. All right, Stein is on pretty low resources.
Yeah, he passes. He leaves up that Colonnade as a blocker.
And with the Rogue gone, Colonnade is a fairly effective blocker, though it just gets to trade if the Mantis Rider attacks alone.
During the draw, Vendilion Click here from Abe Stein. Kitesail Freebooter is 1.
I think that's the Judge promo Gaddock Teague.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Which one does Abraham take? If either.
Yeah, it looks like a neither situation, and that's what it ends up being.
Freebooter, I assume. I was going to say, if he left him with Freebooter, I assume it's a miss.
Right.
It's Snapcaster Mage. We look at the yard. Hey, there's Path to Exile.
Yeah, I was going to tell you for sure if that's still, both those cards still run, it's probably not a Cryptic command.
Yeah, if you didn't take the Freebooter, then you
well,
CC
if
Cryptic.
you took nothing, and you're like, well, whatever.
You're just like, what? Why did you do that?
And there's Snapcaster for Path to Exile. That Mantis Rider is gone.
Abe makes it to his next draw step here. For 3 mana, Electrolyze takes care of both tokens. I mean, you mentioned Jeskai has much stronger cards to draw off the top of the deck, and this is no exception.
Yes.
And a swing for 5 from Abraham. I mean, Dylan is at 5.
Yeah, that Dismember, that cost 4 life. The Baneslayer Angel was able to connect as well as the Colonnade.
What I love about this is Abe is switching roles. He's aggressing because he wants Dylan to trade away that Freebooter. Because if he does, Colonnade is likely lethal. Or right now, I guess it's 2 turns because he got both of Dylan's creatures, but that's fine too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Dylan just drawing 1 fresh one off the top every turn.
Thoughtless Lieutenant will pump Noble Hierarch after it attacks.
That's
so
a fine one.
yeah, Abe down to 9. But no cards in Dylan's hand. Just send Colonnade and send Colonnade again.
Yeah, that should be good enough. Let's see, from 9, you have 2 creatures. You only get 1 draw step, so another Lieutenant does not give you enough. I suppose a Mantis Rider would be the best because you add the most additional pressure and you have a blocker for the Colonnade on the following turn.
Camera Souls isn't going to do it. Dylan extends the hand and drops from the ranks of undefeated. He gets his first loss at the hands of Abe Stein. A valiant fight there in Humans versus Jeskai, but it is Abe Stein ending up with the win. He is undefeated, goes to 6-0-1.
Yeah, and hand did find the Dismember.